you have to eat, sleep, and breathe content creation. You really have to just make this your life.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Forbes Top Creators Show. I'm your host, Stephen Bertoni, here with comedian, actress, content creator, and now OG, we decided.
Yeah.
Hannah Stocking. Hannah, thanks for joining us.
Woo! Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today because not only of your incredible things you create and your amazing followers and your businesses, but also you've been at this for a long time. You've seen the evolution. So I want to hear first, let's go back to the beginning. Like, where did you grow up? And did you ever see yourself doing something like this?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town, Ashland, Oregon, super southern Oregon. At the time, being a content creator wasn't like a lucrative profession. So no, I had no idea in a million years I would be here. But, you know, was raised in a really hippie town where not many people wore shoes. Okay. Grounding was a thing. Not many people had watches. You tell time by the sun, you know.
Were you like in a commune?
No, just like in the middle of the Siskiyou Mountains in like Lithia Park, like Lithia Creek. And actually, they call it that because there's natural lithium running through the creeks.
All right.
Which is also the main component or one of them in antidepressants. So when we would drink the water, we were all super happy.
Natural antidepressants, you're all set.
Yeah.
And lithium batteries.
Ooh, yeah, maybe that's why I'm a little kooky, huh? No. But yeah, growing up, I always wanted to play volleyball. I was super active. I also wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
So I got an athletic and academic scholarship to play volleyball and study in the Bay Area. So
whereabouts?
It was in Marin County.
Okay.
In San Rafael. And so went there for 4 years. And during that transition, my parents moved from Oregon to LA, which is the mecca of creators, right? Or one of them.
A little less hippie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the big leagues. And so every time there's a spring break, summer break, winter break, I had no choice but to go to LA. And that's where, I would go to the gym and, work out for volleyball. And that's where I met actually a couple Viners there. And that's how I fell into it. They just invited me and, it was the first people. It wasn't like, hey, like, what are you doing? It was more friendly and nice. And so, yeah, it was also a creative outlet. But I was still, double majoring in biology and chemistry and doing embryonic stem cell research and just to, give me an edge to get into, my favorite medical school. But, as I took a year off and I lived in LA for another year, I, just kept creating and I was studying for the MCAT and then things just kept growing and I liked it. I liked not studying in the library for 8 hours a day. And I just loved getting out there and making people laugh and also laughing. And now here we are, and it's unreal.
Well, Vine seems so long ago, and describe to me, because people might have missed it. It was so fast. What were you creating on Vine? What was the culture like? Tell me about that.
So Vine used to be an app on the phone, and you basically had to, create a video in 6 seconds. Super short, but make someone laugh and reshare it in 6 seconds, which if you think about it, it's a really cool muscle to work. Like, okay, let's get the joke over with and make it hit really fast. And it's been really cool evolving from a platform where it's been 6 seconds to then Instagram, which was 15 seconds at the time. And then I evolved to YouTube, which I made, longer form sketches from 3 minutes to 8 minutes. And now I'm kind of making the transition to, YouTube Shorts, to TikTok, to Instagram Reels, which are a little over a minute or less. So it's, I've been in the space for 13 years. Some people call me an OG at this point, which is, crazy. But I've just had a really good time evolving.
When did you decide to, you're doing the Vines, you're getting the high from it, you're enjoying it. Yeah. it's a good distraction from studying medical school stuff, which I can't imagine. Medical school stuff, okay. Science. In terms of when did you start kind of changing your goal from being a doctor to maybe being a creator, entertainer?
So I don't even think I really knew, because in the back of my head, I was always like, oh, I'll just go to medical school. But then, as maybe a year passed and through social media, I was able to save up enough money for medical school. And then I was like, well, maybe if I take another year, I can save up more money for medical school. But that was really it was just in the back of my head. And I think I just knew I loved what I did so much that I never wanted to give it up. Honestly, if I did end up going to medical school and being a doctor, I would still probably make videos, even if it wasn't lucrative or profitable. And yeah, I can't believe I get to wake up every day and film silly videos to make someone's day brighter, and it makes mine brighter. And I'm just, it's all surreal to me still, even though it's been 13 years.
How did it evolve from Vine to then what was your next big platform where you took off?
So that one would be Instagram.
Okay.
That was Instagram. And then I had some managers approach me. Some other fellow creators were managed by them. And then it became a little bit more real. Like, okay, well, now someone's, pushing me for things and they're expecting content and I can't just throw it out whenever I feel like it. So I think that's kind of when it all changed for me.
How do you get your ideas? Because again, you were an athlete, you were going through the pre-med track, which doesn't mean you're not necessarily not funny, but those are very serious, jocks or science. Were you always funny growing up? Were you kind of like a class clown, putting on skits with friends?
Yeah, so I actually grew up making like silly home videos with wigs and the costumes with my sister. And we would make it on one of those super old school camcorders, where they would open and then you'd look through the hole and then
the little flip screen.
Yeah, the flip screen. And then we would edit it within like the camcorder, because we didn't know if any editing software even existed back then. So then we would basically plug the camera in and then hook it up to the TV and show our parents and say like, look what we did. It was really bad because you could hear us saying like, okay, action. And then, we would flub and then we would have to keep the bloopers in because we couldn't really cut it out.
Yeah.
So I think I started doing that in elementary school. Then we'd recreate music videos and then being a really competitive athlete, you're taught to suppress your emotions, and if your emotions get the best of you, then your coach calls you weak and you're supposed to be mentally strong. And so then I had that as a layer when I grew up, and I was still really goofy behind the scenes, though I just couldn't really show it. And then when I got into Vine, it was so new. Honestly, when we were trying to shoot just a 1-take or 6-second Vine, man, I would have to do 20 different takes because I kept nervously laughing, and for other people it came really easy for them. And it took me a while, I think, just because of maybe my background with sports or science and all of that.
When did this start to take off? Like you said, were you making money on Vine, or it was so short you really couldn't make money? So what was the business side of that?
Yeah, so that was kind of crazy for me because in college, even though I was on a scholarship, I really didn't have any money. I was actually being the DD, the designated driver, after parties, just so I could help whoever threw the party clean up, just to take all the cans in the garbage bag and put it in my trunk so I could take it to the waste management center and make money from it. Like, I was really, really struggling.
Wow, you're really scraping.
Yeah. Like
scraping by.
Digging out of other people's recycling bins just to make money. And then when I fell into Vine, some of the brands would come out and say, hey, can you make a Vine for $100? And I was losing my mind. Like, I got to just say no, because what am I going to do with all this money? And I just had no idea. And so, the money made on Vine was, nowhere. It's not really compared to, what other creators can make now. And yeah, it was just, there was a little money for me back then.
There you go. So when did this start taking off? When did you say, you know what, I'm going to do this full time? I'm not going to,
I would
not Dr. Stocking, which is actually, that's a good name.
yeah,
It's a good doctor.
Has a ring to it.
But yeah, you're like, I'm going to be a creator now. When did you make this decision and kind of what led to that?
It would probably be after I got into management, or I got a manager, and that was probably a year and a half after I started making content, because I started making content in college. Probably like 2015.
Okay.
2016-ish.
And you mentioned you were getting, Vine deals for $100, which back then it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
What was like your first like real brand deal? Like, remember something that made all the difference? And what was that like?
Oh, the bit like back in the day, I remember I had to like pose with a protein shaker, and they said, you owe me so many posts, which is kind of a crazy deal now, but they gave me 15 grand, and I was like, whoa. Oh my, I remember I was crying. I was like, Mama, I can't believe this. So that was probably like my biggest one back in the day, where I'm like, ooh, we can really, maybe there's something to this, you know? And then, yeah, I just kept grinding, being consistent, elevating my content, still making it original. And if there was a trend, twisting it, still making it my style or idea. And so I feel like that's how I've been able to last for 13 years or so.
How you talk about your style and your idea, like how would you describe your type of comedy, your content? Like if someone's like, oh, Hannah Stocking, she does this sort of stuff. Like how do you describe that concept?
Well, I try to do a lot of different styles just so it's not the same kind of content. But one thing I always try to do in my content is minimal talking. Just so if someone doesn't speak English, they can still laugh at it and share it. So little like Charlie Chaplin-esque. And, if there is dialogue, it's always very slim. It's never like I'm delivering a monologue. It might go, I don't know, viral in, English speaking countries. But yeah, I always try to make it more physical comedy. Also, I do some fever dreamy, weird concepts that are just so bizarre and out there. You've never seen it before. Those are my favorite ones. But and then just one takers and ones where you think it's real, but it's really, I shot it in a way where it's VFX and you can't tell if it's fake. How do you come up with your ideas? Because you say you post how many times you post a week, and how do you come up with the concepts? If I'm not like preparing for a movie, I post once every other day, and then when I'm posting every 2 days. Some weeks I can just go on a walk, my creative walks that I like to go on, and I could just go through 5 ideas fleshed out. I already have all the props. I know who I'm going to cast. I know where I'm going to shoot it. And then there's other weeks where I'm like, I got nothing. I'm howling at the moon, begging for ideas, Sometimes I'm, about to sleep, and I'm in that state of consciousness and, going to sleep. And then I come up with an idea, and then I turn over and I write it down in my notes. And the next morning, either it's a heat idea, like I'm like, wow, or it's chicken scratch. I don't even know what this means or anything like that. And I always have, this is like I love creating so much that it's always on my mind in the back of my brain. And so even when I'm out and about, I'm having conversations with people and something pops up, I'm always like, oh, let me write that down. Or, oh, I could make something like this, but make it more absurd. And, oh, I could do something with this. So I'm just always thinking about it. That's probably how I come up with ideas too. And your videos are very high production. You mentioned props, like you have hilarious props. I've seen you in giant muscle suits, or with like you did something with Adam W. You had giant muscle legs and that sort of thing. Like how big's your crew, and like how do you kind of get all this stuff put together? Because this is not just you in the mirror with a phone. Like you're putting together like full blown makeup and special effects and all that. Yeah. So I am such a perfectionist that I do a lot of it myself. Right now it's just me and my film guy. So I've right now I'm finding all the props. I'm booking the location. I'm booking cast. I'm the one directing. And then I just have my video guys sometimes pick up some props and then just hold the camera.
Where do you get the muscle suits from?
Those were imported from China.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But then other big ones like the massive suitcase I got made. I have a prop girl or the jaw one. I have a different like special effects makeup girl that does molds, and so grateful I found all of these talented people. But those aren't like my day-to-day team. But I do have a team, outside of just me and my videographer, which is, the homemade prop lady and the special effects. And then also I have a team of visual effects guys. So I edit everything myself. I don't have an editor, but if I do need VFX, I got a guy.
Wow. What is like, you said you have like days on and off, like give me like a day in the life of like your shoot day. Like, okay, Hannah's going to record, and tell me about like start to finish, like a piece of content.
So if it's, it kind of depends the video. Like if I need prosthetics or, I'll wake up, I'll sit in the chair. I'll get everybody else who needs prosthetics in the chair. And then after I have everything on, I'll, get my outfit, make sure I'm done up. 'Cause if I'm not shooting, I'm in sweatpants, nothing's done, So, I'll do that. And then I'll make sure cast is on time. 'Cause I'm, love getting things done, and then it's just a blur of what if we say this instead, and then it's just a more of a creative environment where also when I shoot, it's not serious at all. I love when people are laughing off camera, because I genuinely feel if you're not having fun while you're creating content, it shows. So when you are joking around on and off camera, like that's why I love to film with some of my best friends, Anwar and Adam, because they're just as silly, or if not sillier than I am. And then after we press, cut, then we're joking and we're saying all of these silly remarks. And so, yeah. And then after that, I try to edit after, but it depends how long the shoot is, because then I'll just maybe wake up in the morning and then finish the edit.
How long? This is short form. This is maybe a minute long sort of video. How much time goes into that 1 minute everyone's watching on their phones?
So it depends on the concept. Because if it is a one taker, that could be only an hour. Or maybe sometimes one takers, you have a lot of rehearsals to do. So it could be around 3 hours. Whereas some of like, the video that you mentioned of me with big legs and Adam with little legs, that, because it's so many different sets and locations, and we're trying to rig up the little legs of Adam, and then I have to put the suit on again, then I take it off because I get overheated. It's like a thing where that video actually took over 3 months to make.
3 months?
Yeah, because also take into account our schedules as well.
Yeah.
So shooting it probably took 3 days total. But it was funny because that video in particular, I have 3 different hair colors throughout it. So yeah, I like those montage videos, but man, they can take a while.
That's wild. Tell me about your how did you learn comedy? How did you learn like what worked? As 13 years. Was there a lot of trial and error? Like, how did you kind of find your voice and kind of find your aesthetic and find what works?
Oh yeah, a lot of trial and error. And also just kind of studying too. I think because I come from a background of studying in science, that I would study numbers, I'd study other people's numbers, I'd study what works, what doesn't, but also I'm not going to steal someone's vibe. I'm going to make it my own. And, there's been, some heartbreakers where I've spent a lot of money on a video and it's my pride and joy and it's my favorite video I've ever done. And then I release it and it does horrible. Whereas like some other videos, you're like, I've been sitting on this video for a while. I feel kind of embarrassed posting it. Whatever, I'll just drop it, and then it does crazy. It's like, yeah, you never really know.
So with all that, it's funny because you say you do study and you're looking for trends, you're looking at numbers, the ever elusive algorithm. So you do the studying, but at the same time, you don't really know what's going to be a hit or not. Like, how do you balance that out?
Yeah, like if I'm trying a completely new idea or I'm trying to do a new series, I don't know how it's going to hit. But then there's some other ones where, you know, like the one you mentioned, the muscle suit. I'm like, well, no one's seen this before. I think this is going to hit. Mm-hmm. Or I'll even show my friends and say, like, what do you think? They know too. They'll be like, oh, that's heat. That's like the terminology of, oh, that's going to be good.
Okay. What was, talking about going viral, like, can you think back on one video or one series of content that kind of has made all the difference in your career?
Well, there was two. I forget how long ago it was, but I did this one skit where I added VFX, and I don't think VFX was heavy in videos yet, where I was with another creator, Wampa Zurita. And it was kind of like when you're jealous of your man texting on the side, and then my eye would go down, but like every time he looked at me, my eye went back to normal, but it was just one eye moving. That was crazy because there was like 3 years after that where people would say, hey, what's up, Hannah? Can you do the eye thing? Like it lasted 3 years. And then I even saw some people filming themselves in a university of saying like, oh, this is called exotropia, when you can move your eye, and here this girl can do it. But I guess they thought that it was real and not VFX, which is like, oh my gosh, did we fool the world into thinking that I can really move my eye like that? That was crazy.
That was good FX if you fooled the world.
Yeah. Tracka bang bang. He's out of France.
Gotcha. That's so cool. So you have, how many followers do you have now across your platforms?
75 million.
75 million.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have, like, do you think about that when you post? And like, that's like TV channels and like Super Bowl, like, you know, like entire brands and stations would kill to have what you have on your phone.
Yeah.
How does that affect how you post? And like, do you think about it, or are you just like, I'm going to keep on doing what I want and let the world accept it?
I think it's interesting because I have a lot of peers who really think about it, and, you know, there's a lot of stress that comes in it, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the hippiness of where I'm from, but it doesn't really bog me down too much. And, you know, even some people have come to me and say like, hey, how do you not have posting anxiety? Because I do. And I guess that's a thing. And for me, I don't know. It's not, maybe me being an Aquarius, I don't really mind about that, but yeah, that's just something where, you know, I've always been proud of my work. I like putting things out and making people smile, especially when there's so much negativity already on the internet.
How did you build a fan base of 75 million people?
Oh man, I would just say being consistent and unique to yourself, creating videos that are original and authentic to yourself, and just having a really good time doing it.
What is the Hannah Stocking business? How do you make money?
I make money off of, you know, posting on various different platforms, because some platforms regarding how many views you get paid for that, brand deal sponsorships, acting checks. Am I missing something? Equity deals, panels, partnerships.
The hippie is coming through. I like this. The hippie is coming through. Just create, and the money will come.
There it is. Yep, exactly.
Tell me about some of the brand deals you've worked on that kind of stand out in your mind.
The ones that stand out, well, recently I did one with Maybelline, and that's been a nice long-term partnership, which I love. I love making the brands happy and creating long-term partnerships because I love the creative aspect of it. I love collaborating with the brand and coming up with something that makes them happy, but also makes my brand happy, and having it go viral and making this product really sell. And Maybelline's been really cool. All of them have at the end of the day. Just in terms of, hey, you know what? You know your audience better than anyone else. It's great for you to, you know, be creative with this one, just as long as you hit these points. That's always nice. But even the ones where they say, hey, you know what? we want you to just do a video that looks like this. I can still put my own spin on it and make them happy and my fans happy. And I love brand deals.
Speaking of making everybody happy, like what is the best way for a brand and a creator to work together?
The best way is probably, in my eyes, and I could be wrong, but I like when they give the creator more creative freedom, because like I said, you know what's going to perform well. You know your fans better than anyone, especially like when you've been doing it for so long. So I think just like a loose, like, hey, have fun. You know, if we don't like something, we'll fix it in post or we'll do a reshoot. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way.
And you mentioned equity deals. Tell me how this stuff works, how that works.
Well, I would probably toss that off to the managers.
What have you decided to take equity in? What have you partnered in?
Yeah, we're working on some really exciting ones that we're really excited to announce in the future.
What you mentioned, knowing your audience, and you also were saying how you try to avoid dialogue because you also said you avoid dialogue because you want it to be universal and a lot of slapstick physical comedy that anyone around the world can enjoy. What is your fan base like? Are you international? Do you skew younger, older, men, women? Like, what is the Hannah Stocking kind of tribe look like?
Yeah, so it's actually, interestingly enough, very evenly split between male and female. So it's almost 50-50, which is really cool. And then as far as age, I have a lot of young ones following me, but now a lot of, college kids because they've grown up with me over the years. So I would say it kind of skews to Gen Z and millennial.
Okay.
But then sometimes like some older folks will come up and say, hey, I love your content, which is always nice. And then as far as whereabouts, I would say Latin America is really big. Brazil's really big for me. India, Russia, and also America.
Yeah. Very cool. What you mentioned too, you're an actress, you're doing more, I mean, you're always an actress, but you're doing more traditional quote Hollywood things. Tell me about like what you've been working on and what that experience is like versus, your being the director, editor, writer, the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. So I've had such a good time, and I've always wanted to bridge the gap between digital and traditional. I feel like, at least back in the day when I was first starting with digital, there is a really clear separation between digital and traditional. And now I'm, making the bridge to acting more. I have a Netflix Rom-Com coming out in September, The Wrong Paris. Tune in. I've done some other Netflix movies and the iCarly reboot, which was so fun. And it's just been a really great time. And what's interesting is the acting between social media and traditional, so different because in social media you have to be so animated, and then traditional it's like super real. And in acting classes, the main note is, hey, tone it down, like make it a little bit more like grounded. Whereas, the people that don't have a background in social media, their main note is, hey, like, give us more, So that's always been interesting. But
how do you kind of handle that? Again, your social media is so based on, physical expressions, exaggeration, and then they're probably like, no, this needs to be like a little more natural.
More real. Yeah, totally. But I love constructive criticism. That might be, my background in sports. I love being coached. I love making everyone happy. So I'm happy to take it and create something amazing. So yeah.
Tell me about this movie, this rom-com, and like your role and everything.
Oh yeah. So that was a really fun one to shoot.
So it's called The Wrong Paris.
The Wrong Paris. Yeah, it's coming out on Netflix.
What's the premise? Give me the trailer. Give me the trailer.
So it's about a really hot guy is going on a show. bachelor type show.
Okay.
And we all think it's to Paris, France, but then we arrive and we're like, what the heck is this? Paris, Texas? And then we all are kind of, have our own personalities, and we're all so wildly different from each other. And I think what really helped me just with my social media background is in social media, you always have to create and come up with dialogue or one-liners. And that really helped me shooting, actually, because there were days where we would come in a set and then the directors would say, hey, you know what? Just hop in this scene, but what do you want to say here? And then I, would panic, but also, I'm used to working under pressure and creating something. And so then I would boom, 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 like come out with all these, dialogue or even physical comedy things. And that made them really happy. And they also expressed that to me. And that's just one thing I learned is to, be on time, know what you're doing, and come with ideas.
That's good advice for anybody.
Yeah.
Are you playing like a contestant on this show sort of thing? Okay.
Yes. And I am like it's going to be a crazy one. I'm just really I'm ovulating all the time.
You're ovulating all the time.
Yeah, just really like excited to have a baby.
When you were casting for this Netflix show, were they saying like, we want you to be as a creator, we want obviously your talents, but also like, we want to reach your 75 million fans to promote this movie? Like, was that a consideration? Tell me how like this all came about.
Well, actually, I read for a different part for the movie, and they said, you know what, we see you better here. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
That's never happened to me before. And they haven't really mentioned anything about, leveraging this movie on social media. However, they did have me direct, which was really cool because it was for Netflix, a short form video. I wasn't in it, but I was directing the lead, Pearson Fode. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it was about, but
Okay.
It was kind of like a social media-esque video. So that was really fun to collaborate with the Netflix producers on. And yeah, hopefully it can leverage into more things.
I've been fascinated to watch the kind of the intersection between creators in Hollywood over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And I've heard some very good lines about saying like there's no more like creators breaking into Hollywood because creators for a whole generation are Hollywood.
Yeah.
How do you see these two worlds interacting, or are they the same world? Are they blurring together? What do you see now, and like what are your predictions?
Well, I see it now more blurred than ever, because a decade ago there was, some catty talking about each other, and now it's blurring together, and this has been my dream. And I just heard something the other day where, in elementary schools, they would ask the little kids, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the number one occupation they want to be is actually a creator, which is so awesome. And it seems like everybody's accepting it. And, I feel like that's all creators want to feel, is to be accepted and loved and also cherished for their work. And also, not have a negative connotation to it, and help, bridge the gap even more. Do
you think everyone can be a creator? Is that
I think
silly?
So.
Can the ecosystem support that? What do you think?
I think everyone can, but as long as you're consistent, authentic, and a good person too.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more and more I talk to like top creators like yourself, it's a consistency.
Yeah.
And also I realize it's such a grind. I mean, people think that being creators, like, oh, you live this lavish lifestyle and you're jet setting and you're taking, a video here on the Riviera or in the mountains and stuff. But like you said, like you're posting every single day and you're doing it all.
Yeah.
Like, what advice do you have for people that really want to go hand on, like, I want to be a content creator, like I want this my job? Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe content creation. You have to accept the long nights, the overnight edits, the last minute posting, the rat race of it all. You really have to just make this your life and also learn to love it, because I've been in this space for so long that I've seen a lot of burnouts happen, and not many people have lasted this long. So you really have to find a way to, make it a joy, which it already is, I think. But yeah, and then just really grind and be authentic and a good person too, because I've also seen, some iffy things behind the scenes, and it doesn't work out. So be nice and work hard.
You've been doing this for 13 years. You're like the Tom Brady of content creating, of just like decades. Yeah, exactly. What's your secret, or is it just you love it so? Like, how have you been able to be so consistent and not get burnt out, and not kind of get ground down by it all?
I think another thing that I haven't touched on is creating a really good, team around you, and also a friendship group too. Make sure you're around the right people that don't bring you down. And you are who you hang around with. So it's so important to be with like-minded individuals who are also good people and who also work hard, and, don't pull you into any weird things, and really know your intuition, because no one knows your intuition like yourself. And really listen to that, and always seek positivity.
You mentioned hanging around the right people. Obviously, you do a lot of collaborations with Adam W. and War. Like, how does that work? Like, how do you guys work that out? And it's almost like is it like a music collaboration? You have like an amazing singer and an amazing rapper together, and they bring their audiences together, and they elevate it. Like, how does that work when you work with this other group of comedians? Yeah,
well, I love working with those two so much, because say I'll come with an idea like one I just did was the overbite underbite one. 100 million. Yeah, 100 million, which is crazy. It was a wild one. But I come up with the idea. It's a series that has been going on for 20 parts already, which is insane.
It's like the awkward couple.
Yeah, it's the perfect match one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll come with an idea, which is, Adam, picture this. Underbite, overbite, what do you think? And he's like, oh, and then the end, bird food could come out and I could peck you like a bird. And I'm like, there it is. I love how, and creatively too, like nothing makes me happier than piggybacking ideas and, oh, well, what if this? Oh, and then after this happens, this does. And I love it. And I also do that a lot with Anwar too. Mm-hmm. He's another like creative legend.
So you're still filming every other day. You're doing movies. You're doing equity deals and brand deals. What is like your plan for the next couple of years? Like, if we're going to sit down a year from now, 2 years from now, gonna reconnect, what are you talking about? What are we doing? What are you excited about?
Well, I don't even know what I'm doing 5 minutes from now. No, but I think I've kind of always lived my life like a free bird, and I'm just obsessed with working, and I'm obsessed with having my hands in many different things. And I hope, when we have this conversation again in a couple years, I can, tell you about all the movies I've filmed and all the equity deals I've gotten into that I can finally talk about. And also fostering a lot of cats. I hope to save hundreds more of cats' lives.
That's right. Is that like kind of you have your very extroverted filming life, but then you're an animal lover? Like, is that like is that like your solitude with animals? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think just creating in general and being around so many people, it is a very extroverted life. And to my core, I am very introverted, and if I'm not filming, I'm literally at home with my cats.
You wouldn't strike me as an introverted person.
A lot of people say that, but yeah, if I'm going crazy and filming for 10 days in a row, I need 2 days at home with the cats.
Perfect. I think kittens are a great place to end. Yeah. Hannah Stocking, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was a dream.
Awesome.